Agent Toth,
Agent Kala.
I have your mission supplies. You'll know what to do. Good luck.
Thank you. This must be the wrong box, sir. You gave me a fidget spinner, a calculator,
You'll know what to do.
a shitty Rubik's Cube.
You'll know what to do.
This is just tape.
You'll know what to do.
This is paper.
You'll know what to do, Ethan.
Hey everybody, I'm Ethan.
And I'm John.
Welcome to the review for the 2017 action flick, Atomic Blonde.
Yes.
Yeah, starring Charlize Theron. Atomic Bond.
Atomic Blonde. Hey, well, it does take some inspiration from
Whatever.
the Bond films.
Yeah, Atomic Blonde stars Charlize Theron, and it's basically this Cold War era spy flick set in East and West Berlin, and it's just, craziness from there.
Yeah, Charlize Theron is basically a super elite spy who has to go on a mission to retrieve a secret list of all the names of double agents and that type of thing.
Right, operating
And
agents at the moment.
a crazy, wild adventure ensues. So, Ethan, going into this movie, what were your expectations?
I was actually really looking forward to this. I definitely saw a lot of cool stylistic approaches to this movie that I can see were taken from the John Wick series, actually from the director, David Leitch.
Didn't know that until after we'd already seen it.
So I can definitely see, of course I love David Leitch's work coming from John Wick, so I of course wanted to see what he would bring to the table when it comes to Atomic Blonde. What about you, John?
I was a little shakier going into this one. It seemed like it might be a little too style over substance for me. It seemed like it might be too cheesy at times. And while that was true for me, I can say overall I had a lot of fun with Atomic Blonde.
Right.
First, I want to talk about just generally the directing. This is the same director as the John Wick films, and it definitely shows. So these two characters do have a lot of the same appeals, I think. We're both just seeing two crazy, elite, secret agent badasses involved in a bunch of secret, backdoor, national security dealings, doing their crazy stuff. And the directing definitely showed from the John Wick films. In this film, there were a lot of action scenes with a lot of spectacle, very heavily stylized.
Right, you can definitely see the
Very
choreography.
Very grand, slick cinematography, that type of thing.
Yeah, and I think that actually the choreography has to be one of the most appealing parts of this film. Obviously, taken from John Wick inspiration, you can see that there's definitely some dirty, hardcore brawls that are happening out here.
I will say the big difference in terms of the choreography and the general fight scenes is that I feel like this one is a little more grounded and real in some senses. Because John Wick, I mean, in those movies he was basically a god.
Yeah.
He would take on like 100 guys at once, like no problem.
Right.
It was.
In this, it's a little more grounded.
It's a little more grounded. There are
where
still
she's taking on like
still
maybe a
those
smaller group.
crazy
of people.
scenes of her just doing crazy feats of action and swinging off of balconies with the hose and doing all this crazy stuff. But we do see more vulnerability in her character. There's less spectacle. We do actually see her miss a punch or take a hit or actually struggle or take a be bloody, that type of thing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I really liked how they went for that. Another thing I liked about this movie was I really felt that, because it is a period piece, it takes place in East and West, mostly East Berlin, and during the time of the Cold War. And a lot of movies that are period pieces or have a specific setting, the setting can seem kind of arbitrary.
Right, it can be set anywhere, but
it could be set anywhere, but it's New York or whatever. And it just could have been anywhere. But this movie, I felt like Berlin and Germany overall were very distinctly its own character.
Yeah, there's such a huge focus put on the Berlin Wall and the importance of it coming down, because of course that was such a big moment in history, and especially for that location, that you can see it's felt throughout that location.
Yeah.
It affects the plot and it affects the story here.
Even through the small things, like seeing the fashion that people are using, like how they're dressing,
right,
the
music
hairstyle. You hear.
Music, again, also such a great part of this movie. There's such a great soundtrack filled with 80s hits from Depeche Mode to David Bowie. It's such a great listen also.
Just a lot of the very small details in this movie really made me feel like the setting is important. This movie is in and about Berlin. I got a sense of the people there, the political climate of the time, and that type of thing. It's almost like we said about Spider-Man Homecoming, weirdly recently, how we really felt like New York was an integral part of that movie, was its own character. I got a sense of the city in that movie. I got the same thing about Berlin in this movie. Now, this movie is very heavily stylized.
Yes.
For better or for worse. I think that there were a lot of really cool moments that came from that, but it also sacrificed a lot of its story for how stylized it was. This movie really goes full force towards a crazy, secret agent, slick, cool spy thing.
Right, where I think that you might not be as fond as the style over substance type. I am more into that. Every time I see a shot of just someone's face is half blue, half pink, that really brings out the Outrun lover in myself. And whenever I see such a cool lighting structure in a movie, I can't help but like that. But what you were saying over maybe it's taking that
Yeah.
over maybe a structured story. I did think that there were some problems with the story and maybe it was a bit more convoluted because
Yeah.
I see that they were trying to go for a where is the double agent, who's the mole kind of story structure, which we've seen in a few spy movies over
Yeah.
the years. Maybe they could have edited it back because they keep piling it on itself and it becomes a little bit convoluted, like I said earlier.
Yeah, I think toward the end of this movie, they start pulling all these punches on you, and that's fine for a spy movie, but I don't think this movie really earned it. It didn't have a well-established enough story and characters to really throw all these curveballs at me. So at the end, I was just kind of rubbing my chin, like, what is this?
Yeah, I was having. There were definitely a few moments there where I was trying to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
With the little story that I remembered or I could put together, but still, I could maybe put the story in the backseat because I loved watching these characters interact and I loved watching them interact with this world of Berlin. Just seeing Charlize Theron and James McAvoy, who actually did a great job.
They
in this
both
movie.
killed it, by the way.
Yeah.
Charlize Theron, James McAvoy, great performances.
Yeah, just seeing
those
them.
are the two leads in this movie.
Yeah, just seeing them interact with Berlin and the world and doing their espionage, dirty work. It was just such a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, I think at the end it almost starts to take itself a little too seriously.
Really?
Maybe that's the wrong way to put it, but there was a lot of drama at the end and a lot of, ooh, the story's finally unraveling and this is what was really
I see
happening. There
what
was
you
a
mean.
lot of, like, very heavy-handed stuff at the end, almost like, oh, you'll never know what the real game was and who's the real winner.
Right.
And all this type of stuff. And I just don't feel like it earned it. Didn't have a lot of weight for me.
I see what you
I
mean.
feel like, oh, we just saw a bunch of cool action scenes and now you're making all these, like, weird socio-political heavy comments.
Right. At one
And
point,
it just seemed out of place.
yeah. At one point, one of the big plot points is that, of course, there's a mole within one of the sides that Lorraine is working for, and it becomes pretty apparent who the mole is as you go throughout the movie, but they don't really tell you that until the very end, or at
Yeah.
least they specifically show you this person is the mole when you've already figured that out, and so you're kind of feeling like you're way ahead of the movie, and maybe it's being left behind you.
This movie is chock full of unrealistic stuff, by the way. That should go without
that's fine
saying.
with me.
But this movie is like, every 2 minutes you can be like, that wouldn't happen. Why would that happen? That makes no sense.
Whatever. That's fine with me. I'm okay with that.
All right, Ethan. All things considered, what are you going to give Atomic Blonde out of 5 stars?
I've really enjoyed Atomic Blonde. Coming from the familiarity with the John Wick series, I've become acquainted with David Leitch's directing styles. I like his choreography. I can definitely tell there's a different style of choreography here, which I really enjoyed. I loved Atomic Blonde's characters. I loved its city. I loved its story for the most part until it started piling on top of each other. I am a sucker for style over substance, so when I see such cool framing of shots and things like this, I have to fall for it, and I love it. That's why I'm going to give Atomic Blonde a 4 out of 5. John, what about you?
I don't think I liked it quite as much as you, Ethan, but
Okay.
I still had a lot of fun with Atomic Blonde. Charlize Theron and James McAvoy killed it. I loved their characters both all the way. It was a really very cool stylistic movie, just in the cinematography and the choreography and the camera work and the art design. Everything was just
Definitely.
a really cool, sleek spy movie look. The action scenes were great, and I really felt like I got a great sense of the setting and the time period that made the movie that much better for me. That said, the story definitely could have been written more. Definitely tried to add too many layers onto it, and it definitely didn't really work enough towards the big crazy things they try to throw at you. They didn't have nearly enough weight as I knew that the writers wanted to have for me.
Okay.
So overall, for me, Atomic Blonde gets 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Respectable.
If you're a fan of, John Wick, James Bond, the Bourne movies,
Yeah.
if you're a fan of those type of movies, this is definitely worth checking out. All in all, just a really fun movie.
Yeah, if you like spy movies, this one's for you.
Alright guys, so what'd you think of Atomic Blonde? And what'd you think of our review? Let us know in the comments below. We actually read those. And follow us on Twitter at StubMasters. You can buy our merchandise and look as cool as these two boys at cafepress.com/StubMasters. Alright guys, Atomic Blonde, StubMasters, I'm John.
I'm Ethan.
Have a great day.